You trust your friends. You trust your environment. But human stupidity is the ultimate unpredictable variable. In this video, we break down 6 practical jokes that ended in immediate death. This is an objective analysis of cause and effect for educational purposes only. Never play with safety parameters. Physics does not have a sense of humor, and biology does not forgive. August 2nd, 1998. The location is rural Louisiana. It is 2 in the morning. The air is hot, thick, and completely still. In a dark clearing near the woods sits a single aluminum trailer. It is a rusty metal box resting on cinder blocks. Inside, 50-year-old Arthur is fast asleep. The loud hum of a cheap desk fan fills the cramped room. He is a man who values his privacy. He locked his door, went to bed, and expected to wake up to a normal morning. But human stupidity does not respect locked doors. Outside in the dark, 3 of Arthur's drinking buddies are stumbling through the tall grass. They are bored, highly intoxicated, and looking for a cruel laugh. They want to pull a prank. They want to see Arthur run out of his home in a panic. To achieve this, they are carrying a dangerous biological hazard. They found a massive feral beehive hanging from a low tree branch. These are not normal honeybees. These are Africanized bees. When a normal bee stings, it usually dies, and the attack ends there. But Africanized bees are fiercely territorial. If their hive is threatened, the entire colony swarms. They will pursue a target relentlessly until the perceived threat is completely eliminated. The men do not know this, and they do not care. They carry the heavy, buzzing mass toward the trailer. The plan is brutally simple. Toss the hive inside, lock him in for a minute, and listen to him freak out. One of the men takes a heavy wooden plank. He wedges it firmly against the trailer's only outward swinging door. The handle is now jammed. The main exit is gone. Arthur is trapped inside a metal cage, and he does not even know it yet. The men move to a narrow, louvered ventilation window on the side of the trailer. The glass slats are cranked open to let in the breeze. The opening is far too small for a person to fit through, but big enough for their payload. With a swift motion, they rip the fragile bug screen. They heave the massive hive through the narrow gap. The heavy wax structure hits the linoleum floor with a sickening crunch. The fragile comb shatters into pieces. Time slows down to a crawl. Thousands of aggressive insects pour out into the dark, confined space. The silence of the room is instantly replaced by a deafening, mechanical roar. Arthur snaps awake. The air in his bedroom is vibrating. He jumps out of bed in the dark. He feels the first sharp sting on his neck, then another on his face. Blind panic takes over. He rushes to the door and grabs the handle. He shoves his entire weight against it. The metal door rattles in its frame, but the heavy wooden plank outside holds it shut. He hits it again. Nothing happens. He cannot squeeze through the tiny ventilation window. There is nowhere to go. Outside, his friends hear the loud thumping against the walls. They hear his muffled shouts for help. They lean against the metal siding and laugh. They think the prank is a massive success. They have no idea they are listening to a man die. Inside, the situation shifts from a bad joke to a fatal medical emergency. The bees are drawn directly to the carbon dioxide Arthur exhales. Every time he breathes, he paints a target on his own face. The first sting releases a chemical alarm pheromone. It tells every other bee in the room exactly where to strike. He is stung 10 times in 5 seconds, then 50 times, then hundreds. His body is rapidly flooded with apoptoxin venom. This is not a simple allergic reaction. This is mass toxic envenomation. The sheer volume of chemical poison overwhelms his nervous system almost instantly. His throat begins to swell rapidly. His blood pressure drops violently. His body goes into a state of severe anaphylactic shock. Arthur collapses onto the floor, gasping for oxygen that cannot pass through his blocked airway. The frantic thumping against the heavy door slows down. A few seconds later, it stops completely. The men outside stop laughing. The joke has gone on too long. A heavy, unnatural silence falls over the clearing, broken only by the angry buzzing inside the walls. They kick the wooden plank away and pull the door open. They expect Arthur to stumble out, cursing at them. Instead, a black cloud of insects pours out into the night. Arthur is on the floor, entirely motionless. Emergency services are called, but it is far too late to reverse the damage. The coroner's report reads like a forensic nightmare. It documents over 500 individual sting marks on his body. The official cause of death is fatal injury due to massive envenomation, resulting in respiratory arrest and sudden cardiac failure. The three men are immediately arrested by local police. The aluminum trailer remains parked in the dark woods, empty and silent. It stands as a rusted metal monument to a careless joke that shattered against the unforgiving laws of biology. January 20th, 2012. The yellow tactile warning strip on a subway platform is a vital safety boundary. It is the only physical barrier separating commuters from the lethal mechanics of the track. Standing just inches from this line is a 29-year-old man, a regular office worker simply waiting for his Friday evening ride home. His toes hover just inches from the yellow tactile warning strip. He is completely relaxed. His guard is down. He trusts the unspoken rules of public safety. Standing right next to him is his colleague, a work friend he has known for years. The mood between them is light. They are joking, blowing off steam after a long week. But the colleague is in a hyperactive, playful mood. He decides to pull a prank. It is a classic, stupid schoolyard joke, the fake scare. He plans to give his friend a sudden, sharp shove toward the tracks, just to make him flinch, gasp, and then laugh in relief. He has done it before, in hallways or bars. He assumes this time will be no different. He is wrong. He ignores the critical variables of the environment. The floor is polished concrete, worn smooth by millions of footsteps. The victim is standing with his weight on his heels, not bracing for impact. The train is already approaching. The tunnel begins to vibrate with the roar of the incoming locomotive. The air pressure shifts, pushing a gust of wind ahead of the engine. This is the moment the colleague chooses. He lunges forward. He extends his arms and pushes the victim's upper back. He intends it to be a tap, but adrenaline makes him clumsy. He miscalculates his own strength. He applies too much force. The transfer of kinetic energy is immediate. The victim's center of gravity is violently displaced forward. He tries to step back to catch his balance, but his dress shoes find no traction on the slick floor. The joke turns into a physics equation with only one solution. He tips past the point of no return. His arms flail, grasping at the empty air, looking for something to hold on to. There is nothing. He crosses the yellow line. He topples over the edge. The fall is short, only about 4 feet, but he lands awkwardly on the wooden ties and gravel of the track bed. He is alive. He is conscious. For a split second, he looks up. The twin headlights of the train are blindingly bright, filling his entire field of vision. The screech of the emergency brakes pierces the air, a horrific sound of steel locking against steel. The engineer has seen him. He has slammed the emergency stop. But a train is a massive object, weighing hundreds of tons. It is governed by the laws of inertia. It cannot stop on a dime. The victim scrambles, trying to push himself up, trying to beat the machine. He is too slow. The impact is catastrophic. The collision between the biological form and the unyielding steel of the locomotive causes immediate massive blunt force trauma. The police report will later describe the injuries as non-survivable and instantly fatal. There is no prolonged suffering because the nervous system shuts down faster than the brain can process the pain. The train continues to slide, grinding over the spot where the man fell, before finally coming to a halt. A heavy, suffocating silence descends on the station. On the platform, the prankster stands frozen. His hands are still half raised in the pushing motion. He stares at the gap between the train and the platform. He waits for his friend to climb out. He waits for the angry shout. He waits for the punch in the shoulder, but the gap remains still. The realization crashes down on him with the weight of a life sentence. He hears the screams of bystanders. He sees the horrified faces of the people around him. He has not just played a joke. He has committed negligent homicide. Emergency services arrive within minutes to extract the body, but there is nothing to save. The yellow line, designed to keep people safe, could not protect against human stupidity. A life full of plans and potential was extinguished in a fraction of a second because one person failed to respect the lethal reality of a moving train. The shove was meant to be funny. It ended as a forensic case file. April 26, 2018. 24-year-old Alex is in a deep recovery sleep on a living room sofa. He is completely motionless, resting on his back and trusting the safety of his environment after a long night of celebration. He is dressed for comfort in a pair of loose athletic sweatpants and a t-shirt. This clothing choice is a critical detail in the tragedy that is about to unfold. The fabric is a synthetic blend, likely polyester or nylon. In the context of fire safety, these materials are essentially plastic threads woven into cloth. They do not just burn, they melt. While Alex sleeps, a friend wanders into the room. His judgment is still clouded by the lingering effects of the previous night's intoxication. He sees Alex sleeping and decides it would be funny to startle him awake. His eyes land on a bottle of charcoal lighter fluid left on a nearby table. A primitive, catastrophic idea forms in his mind. He plans a hot foot prank, a misguided stunt where a small fire is lit near a sleeper to make them jump, with the expectation that it can be slapped out instantly. The friend believes he can control the element of fire. He is wrong. He approaches the sofa. He uncaps the bottle. He squirts a stream of the clear liquid onto Alex's lap and midsection. He does not understand the chemistry of what he is holding. Lighter fluid is a petroleum distillate, a volatile hydrocarbon designed to ignite heavy charcoal briquettes. It has a low flash point and a high vapor pressure. When it soaks into the weave of the synthetic sweatpants, it turns Alex's clothing into a wick. The friend flicks a disposable lighter. He expects a small, manageable flame. Instead, physics takes over. The reaction is a deflagration. The vapors hovering above the fabric ignite in a violent flash, creating an immediate fireball that engulfs Alex's lower body. The temperature spikes to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit in a fraction of a second. Alex wakes up inside a nightmare. His brain floods with adrenaline. He acts on pure instinct. He screams. He thrashes. He leaps from the couch. This is the worst possible reaction, though it is entirely involuntary. By running and flailing, he feeds the fire more oxygen. The flames roar higher, reaching his chest and face. The prankster freezes, paralyzed by the sudden escalation. He tries to reach out to pat the fire, but the heat is too intense. The tragedy enters its second, more lethal phase. The synthetic sweatpants do not turn to ash. They reach their melting point. The liquid plastic creates a superheated compound that bonds directly to the epidermis. It becomes a thermal trap that cannot be brushed off. The heat transfers deep into the subcutaneous tissue, causing catastrophic cellular damage and destroying the nerve endings. The fire spreads to the sofa, which is filled with polyurethane foam. Thick, toxic black smoke fills the room within seconds. Alex gasps for breath, inhaling this superheated soot. The thermal damage moves from his skin to his lungs. His trachea is scorched. His airway begins to swell shut immediately. The friends finally manage to smother the flames with a heavy blanket and drag him out to the lawn. But the damage is total. When emergency services arrive, they find a young man who is conscious but in a state of profound shock. He is transported to a specialized burn center. The clinical assessment is devastating. He has sustained full-thickness thermal injuries to 90% of his body surface area. The skin, the body's primary defense against infection and fluid loss, is effectively gone. In the sterile isolation of the intensive care unit, a team of surgeons and specialists fights a losing battle. Alex is placed in a medically induced coma. His body swells as fluids leak from his compromised capillaries. The toxic byproducts of the burnt tissue flood his bloodstream, clogging his kidneys. His immune system launches a massive chaotic defense known as a cytokine storm, attacking his own organs in a desperate attempt to survive. The medical team performs multiple procedures to manage the catastrophic thermal damage, but the trauma is too extensive. The physiological debt is too high. Alex survives for a short time in agony, tethered to machines that breathe and filter his blood for him, but his heart eventually gives out under the strain. He dies in the hospital weeks after the event. The friend who lit the match is left to face a manslaughter charge and a lifetime of guilt. A simple, stupid impulse to wake a friend up turned a living room into the site of a fatal inferno because one person failed to respect the volatility of chemistry. December 28, 2017. It is a freezing Thursday night in Wichita, Kansas. Inside a modest single-story house on West McCormick Street, 28-year-old Andrew Finch is relaxing with his family. The atmosphere is calm. The television is on. The heater hums against the cold. Andrew is not a gamer. He does not own a headset. He has no online presence. He is a father of two, oblivious to the digital war zone that is about to claim his life. Hundreds of miles away, two Call of Duty players, Casey Viner and Shane Gaskell, are arguing over a friendly fire incident in an online match with a wager of exactly $50. The dispute escalates from insults to threats. Viner, enraged by the loss, threatens to swat Gaskell, a criminal prank where a person makes a false report to dispatch a heavily armed police team to a victim's home. Gaskell, in a moment of fatal arrogance, dares Viner to do it. He types out an address, but he does not type his own current address. He provides his old address, a house he moved out of years ago. It is the address of Andrew Finch. Viner contacts a third party, a notorious serial swatter named Tyler Barris, known for manipulating emergency dispatchers. Barris picks up the phone. He dials the Wichita police. He follows a script designed to trigger maximum lethal force. He tells the dispatcher in a calm, chilling voice that he is inside the house on West McCormick Street. He claims he has just fatally injured his father. He claims he is holding his mother and brother hostage in a closet at gunpoint. He claims he has poured gasoline all over the house and is prepared to burn it down. He explicitly states he is armed with a handgun. The police dispatch receives this information as absolute fact. They believe they are responding to an active shooter, a patricide, and a potential arsonist with hostages. A convoy of patrol cars screams toward the house. Officers exit their vehicles, weapons drawn, adrenaline pumping. They establish a tactical perimeter, taking cover behind cruisers across the street. They are entering what they believe to be a war zone. Inside the house, Andrew Finch hears the commotion. He sees the flashing red and blue lights reflecting off his living room walls. He is confused. He assumes there might be a car accident outside. He is curious. He walks to the front door. He unlocks it. He turns the handle. This is the moment where two realities collide. The innocent reality of a man in his home and the fabricated reality of the police. Andrew steps out onto the concrete porch, illuminated by the blinding spotlight of a police cruiser. He is wearing a hooded sweatshirt. He squints into the darkness, trying to understand why a dozen firearms are pointed at his chest. The police scream commands. "Show your hands! Step off the porch!" The auditory chaos is overwhelming. Andrew is bewildered. He raises his hands, then lowers them. In a moment of nervous confusion, he reaches toward his waistband, a common reflex to pull up sagging pants. To the police, who have been primed to expect an armed, desperate suspect, this motion looks like a draw. An officer stationed across the street perceives an imminent, lethal threat. He makes a split-second decision based on the false narrative he was fed. He pulls the trigger. A single .223 caliber round cracks through the cold night air. The projectile strikes Andrew in the chest, causing critical internal trauma. The impact knocks him backward into the hallway. He collapses on the floor, surrounded by his terrified family, who have no idea why their son has just been shot. The police hold their positions, believing the shooter is still inside. They do not rush in to provide aid immediately because they still fear the gasoline and the hostages. Andrew collapses on his own floor, succumbing to massive internal hemorrhage within minutes. When the police finally breach the house, they find no gasoline. They find no hostages. They find no dead father. They find only a confused, unarmed man succumbing to a fatal ballistic injury. The realization of the error is slow and horrifying. The hostage situation was a ghost story. The armed suspect was an innocent bystander. Andrew Finch died because of a meaningless argument over a video game he wasn't playing for a bet of less than $2. The pranksters utilized the reflex of the police force as a remote-controlled weapon, proving that words typed on a screen can manifest as physical, fatal consequences in the real world. November 2014. The human cardiovascular system is a delicate biological engine that relies on strict routine. For one woman in Romania with a documented history of severe heart disease, maintaining a calm environment is a daily matter of survival. She relies on the predictability of her quiet apartment to keep her blood pressure stable. Her heart is a deeply fragile machine. Her doctors have given her strict orders to avoid sudden stress, loud noises, or intense emotional shocks. Her husband, however, is a man who loves practical jokes. He enjoys disrupting the quiet with sudden scares. He thinks startling people is funny. Tonight, he decides to orchestrate the ultimate prank. He plans to fake a massive, life-threatening medical emergency. He wants to simulate a catastrophic heart attack. He does not stop to consider his wife's medical history. He only focuses on the potential laugh. He waits until she is sitting comfortably on the couch watching a program. He walks into the center of the living room to ensure he is in her direct line of sight. Then the performance begins. He suddenly gasps loudly, his eyes wide with feigned terror. He clutches his chest with both hands, gripping his shirt tight. To make the illusion perfect, he lets his knees completely buckle. He crashes heavily onto the wooden floor. He starts to writhe and groan. He mimics the agonizing convulsions of a man entering sudden cardiac arrest. He puts every ounce of his energy into making the lie look completely real. For his wife, the subjective world of a peaceful evening shatters in a split second. She does not see a prank. She sees her absolute worst nightmare unfolding in real time. The person she loves most is dying in agony on the rug. At this exact moment, a lethal biological mechanism is triggered inside her body. When a human experiences sudden, overwhelming terror, the brain's amygdala sounds a primal alarm. It dumps a massive, instantaneous dose of adrenaline directly into the bloodstream. This chemical flood is designed for survival. It forces the heart muscle to contract violently, increasing blood pressure to prepare the body to fight or run away. In a healthy person, this is a harmless spike, but in a severely compromised heart, it is a physiological death sentence. The sudden extreme demand for oxygen completely overloads her narrowed arteries. Her weak heart simply cannot pump that fast. The electrical signals inside her chest completely short-circuit. While her husband is still rolling on the floor, waiting a few extra seconds to maximize the dramatic effect. Her biological system collapses. She does not scream. She does not have the breath to yell for an ambulance. She simply slumps forward against the cushions. She loses consciousness instantly as her heart stops beating entirely. The husband decides the joke has finally reached its peak. He stops groaning. He smiles broadly and sits up on the living room floor. He looks toward the couch, fully expecting his wife to yell at him or throw a pillow. Instead, he sees her slumped over, totally lifeless. He chuckles nervously. He tells her to stop playing around. For a brief, confusing second, he thinks she is trying to prank him back. The silence in the apartment stretches out. It becomes heavy and terrifying. He stands up and walks over to her. He touches her shoulder. Her body simply slides off the edge of the couch and hits the floor. She is not breathing. There is no pulse. The smile vanishes from his face as the horrifying reality crashes down on him. Panic entirely replaces the humor. He grabs his phone with shaking hands and dials emergency services. He drops to his knees and tries to perform frantic chest compressions. He screams her name, but he is too late. Paramedics arrive minutes later, their sirens cutting through the autumn night. They rush into the living room with their heavy equipment, pushing the weeping husband aside. They place defibrillator pads on her chest. They attempt to shock the biological machine back to life, but the fatal injury is absolute and permanent. The sudden emotional trauma was simply too much for her cardiovascular system to survive. She is pronounced dead right there on the living room floor. The cause of death is recorded as a fatal cardiac arrest, directly induced by extreme psychological shock. The apartment returns to its quiet state, the television still murmuring the evening news. The prankster is left sitting entirely alone in the ruins of his life. He wanted to orchestrate a brief moment of fear for a quick laugh. Instead, he weaponized his wife's physiological weakness against her. He proved that a stupid joke, when played on a fragile heart, is just as lethal as a loaded weapon. October 14, 2008. A 41-year-old man crouches in the dark, gripping a plastic horn. He is dressed in a full-body clown costume, complete with an oversized rubber mask featuring a manic, painted grin. He has slipped through an unsecured side door of a warehouse. He hides silently behind a stack of empty crates in a poorly lit corridor. His only goal tonight is to jump out of the shadows and get a massive laugh from his friend, who works as the night shift security guard. He anticipates the sudden adrenaline rush and the ensuing laughter. He completely fails to consider the basic psychology of a lone worker patrolling a dark, empty facility. Guards exist in a state of perpetual hypervigilance. Their brains are naturally wired to look for hidden threats. To protect himself, the guard carries a high-voltage stun gun on his duty belt. It is a device engineered to deliver thousands of volts of electricity to overload the human nervous system. It is legally considered a non-lethal weapon, provided it is used from a safe distance. The guard does not know that someone is already inside his secure perimeter. The prankster has stripped away his human identity and replaced it with a universal symbol of a horror movie threat, essentially turning himself into a perceived lethal danger. The heavy footsteps of the guard approach the aisle, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the dusty air. The prankster tightens his grip, pressing his back against the wooden crates, his breathing shallow. The guard walks past the pallets, sweeping his light across the concrete floor, completely unaware of the figure crouching just inches away. This is the moment. The 41-year-old man lunges out from the shadows with a sudden, guttural yell, throwing his arms wide open. In the sudden beam of the flashlight, the rubber mask distorts into something genuinely demonic. Rational thought instantly evaporates from the guard's mind. His amygdala, the brain's primal threat center, bypasses his logical cortex entirely. He does not recognize his friend's voice, his height, or his body language. He only perceives a sudden, violent ambush by a terrifying figure in a confined space. His survival instinct takes total and immediate control. It happens in a fraction of a second. The guard's hand snaps to his duty belt with practiced muscle memory. He draws the stun gun. He does not have time to step back, aim, and fire the projectile darts from a safe distance. Operating in a state of pure defensive panic, he thrusts the heavy plastic device forward for a direct drive stun attack. The heavy metal contact prong slammed directly into the center of the clown's chest, right over the left pectoral muscle. The guard pulls the trigger and holds it down. A terrifying, loud electrical crackle echoes through the empty warehouse as the weapon discharges its payload directly into the prankster's torso. This is exactly where a stupid prank turns into a fatal biological disaster. The high-voltage electrical arc passes directly across the chest cavity, intersecting perfectly with the heart's delicate internal electrical grid. The human heart relies on incredibly precise microsignals to maintain a steady pumping rhythm. The massive, chaotic external shock completely scrambles those internal pacemaking signals. The prankster's heart instantly goes into acute ventricular fibrillation. The cardiac muscle completely stops pushing blood to the brain and begins to quiver uselessly in his chest. The man does not laugh, and he does not yell. He stiffens like a board as the electricity violently courses through his nervous system, his eyes rolling back behind the rubber mask. When the terrified guard finally releases the trigger and steps back, the prankster collapses like a cut marionette. He hits the cold concrete floor with a heavy, lifeless thud. The guard stands over him, his chest heaving, his flashlight trembling in his hand, shouting verbal commands for the intruder to stay down. The brightly colored clown does not move. The heavy, oppressive silence of the warehouse returns. Slowly, as the adrenaline fades into a creeping dread, the guard approaches the prone figure. He reaches down and pulls off the rubber mask. The face underneath is not a monster. It is his friend, completely unresponsive and rapidly turning pale. The guard drops the weapon in horror and frantically radios for emergency medical services. Paramedics arrive minutes later with a portable defibrillator. They rip the colorful costume open to expose his bare chest and try desperately to shock the heart back into a normal rhythm. It is too late. The electrical disruption was too severe, and the brain was deprived of oxygen for far too long. The prankster is pronounced dead on the cold warehouse floor. The medical examiner's report reads clinically: sudden cardiac arrest induced by high-voltage electrical discharge. The man wanted to orchestrate a harmless scare for a quick laugh. Instead, he forced a terrified worker to defend his own life with extreme prejudice. You cannot fake a lethal threat in the dark without expecting a lethal defense in return. Physics settled the score, but the moral debt remains. In cases like the fake heart attack or the fatal shove, who is truly to blame? The fragile human body or the massive ego of the prankster? Drop your harshest verdict in the comments. Do not hold back. If you want more unfiltered analysis of human nature colliding with reality, drop a like and subscribe before you go.